Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a way that GW could make more money. Now, that's not to say that I am, you know, let's let the corpo just take it all from us. But it's no secret that a lot of us Tyranid players would like to play with their Toxicrene. It just isn't worth it in its current state, which is unfortunate. And I just got here in this edition, but from what I can understand from everybody before me, the Toxicrene has never been worth taking. Unfortunately, it has a fucking wingspan of a condor on the table. It means it can be shot from any angle. It doesn't have an invulnerable save, so that 3 up, if they can punch T11, guess what? You are getting punched, okay? And all of that to say that you just have another infantry clearing monster, even though most of our army has blast weapons and or flamers. So, it's not looking too good as to why you would ever take the Toxicrene. And in fact, the only time I've thought about it, well, there's two detachments that I've thought about it in. One's a little bit more realistic than the other. First off, if we take it into Crusher Stampede, its current abilities do what advances the game plan of Crusher Stampede. You see, with hypertoxic miasma damaging people that you are around at the end of your movement phase for mortal wounds, you combine that with the tank shock of the Crusher Stampede, in which you do some more mortals, and you have an auto explode for deadly demise in Crusher Stampede as well. So, safe to say that you can see that my game plan for Crusher Stampede, if I am to bring this model out, is mortals, mortals, mortals. As well as the fact that Crusher Stampede lets you go through walls. Now, there was an FAQ update in the last balance data slate go around. There's just like, hey, if you could fit your base through the nook and cranny, don't worry about things that overhang the base. You can go ahead and go do it. Okay? So that did help the idea of taking the Toxicrene, but at the same time, nothing really changed because the points didn't go down for this thing, even though they probably should, but it's also hard to justify. Now, we have a very points efficient melee monster in the horror specs. We also have one that is the same price now as the Toxicrene that is still better and less points efficient depending on who you ask on the day. If it wants to be, it is. If it doesn't want to be, it ain't. And that's Old One Eye. Both of them have a profile that will do decent enough versus infantry, and they even have attacks to do damage versus heavies. Okay? So it's hard to justify spending 150 points for something that can only really clear infantry and, well, has the body for 150 points, but again, because it can get shot from pretty much anywhere on the board, it's hard to justify. Now, real quick, I guess I should tell you about the second detachment that I've ever thought about taking the Toxicrene in. Well, I guess not ever, but the second, less realistic, but maybe one day. That would be, well, Synaptic Nexus. Synaptic Nexus at least would give the Toxicrene an invulnerable save, as well as the fact that it can have +1 to hit in melee, some charge, and with Irresistible Will, rerolling hits and wound rolls. That means that you're getting whatever infantry squad you ever wanted if it came down to it, right? Let's just say that you needed to put all of your attacks into Deathwing Night Squad. I know they have -1, but just let me hope for a second, okay? Like, you're getting to the wounding for whatever squad, mostly. Now, there's also a detachment that people are claiming several times over that this is what it should be in. And I've been a staunch defender of, but it won't fix shit. That's Assimilation Swarm. People are like, well, if you at least put Harvester on the Toxicrene, I'm going to then take the Toxicrene because Harvester and then Assimilation Swarm is better because we want Assimilation Swarm to be better. But, unfortunately, this is me coming with a steel chair reality check. You're still not taking the Toxicrene because the Toxicrene hasn't been fixed. You're not taking it now. You're not going to take it then when I can barely convince people to actually take the horror specs in Assimilation Swarm, right? Now, it would be nice if it did something else in one of the detachments, but the reality is, it won't. It just won't. And then you go, well, yeah, just drop the points, give it Harvester, call it a day. But what points can you drop this to make it one feel good and feel realistic, right? If you drop it to 120 for 5 more points, I can still have the horror specs. For 115, that's more hopeful, but would they really make a T11 3 up save 14 wound monster 115? They just now finally did it for the Carnifex. And the Carnifex, if you ask me, is still overcosted. Because you're not bringing it if you're not attaching Old One Eye to it, because the rules and the datasheet just isn't that great. So if they won't take the Carnifexes down to about 100 each, they're not taking the T11 3 up 14 wound monster to 100 or 115. That's even if they want to attach a new keyword to it on top of that. I can't really see it happening. So here's where I pull back the curtains behind the magic. This is my second, or is it my third time? Because sometimes I have outtakes. But this isn't my first time making this video. When I was going through everything and I actually had an idea in mind, I ended up having an epiphany. To which, GW, you have kind of no reason to not try this route. Like, it'll be scary, but take my hand. Just trust me a little bit. No, you don't have to, but, it'd be nice. So when I first was going about this, I was like, well, in my scheme of my head schema, of how Tyranid evolution works, you go from the little Hormigons and the Termagants, which then go into like, the Tyranid warriors melee that had like the little toxic harpoon barbs, and then of course ranged for Termagants, right? You're still following, right? And then of course ranged warriors go into Zoanthropes, while melee with the toxic barbs go into Venomthropes. And then both of those go into the respective Maleceptor, Toxicrene, which another step, nor an emissary, nor an assimilator. Now, headcanon aside, that's all the steps, so you go, where the fuck are you going with this? Well, if a Toxicrene in this, again, headcanon, admittedly, is just a big Venomthrope, why not just make it do things like a Venomthrope does? Can't believe I screwed that up, even though I thought I ordered them right before this. Whoops. You'll see the outtake. I'm not doing that all over just for that. We'll get to what I put on the other tabs, right? Okay, so the Venomthrope obviously can't be, lone up, but it is stealth and provides an aura of stealth within 6 inches and benefit of cover within 6 inches. Now, that stealth stops if it's a monster, they just get the benefit of cover. But if it's a big Venomthrope, right, why not just, I don't know, either extend this range and give the Toxicrene stealth, and make the ability, subtract the mortal wounds part, and just make it so that double the benefit of cover. So that way, instead of maybe 140 points worth of Venomthropes, like maybe I break them up in 2 squads of 70 or whatever, I just have one Toxicrene that applies stealth and benefit of cover out to a foot for everybody. That'd be cool. So that was my original, like, why don't we do that? And also, I there's somebody else in the Toxicrene kit. If you've ever tried to buy one, good luck. And second off, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Who else is in the box? Maleceptor. You go, why would GW give you a monster when it could be -1 to hit from range, when the Maleceptor is -1 to hit up close. Fair point. The Maleceptor has an invulnerable save and can also subtract 1 from the wound roll if the enemy unit within those 6 inches is below half strength. So, pretty darn tanky. And as we see that, well, GW, I still would like some more explanations on Norn Emissary versus Norn Assimilator point cost, but both of them could come down. Anywho, we see that sometimes some survivability can come in a different way when one has a better offensive profile. The Maleceptor, at current, still has a better offensive profile than the Toxicrene. So, why not make it so that it has a little bit of an edge on the defensive side, where everything that comes into it, out like 6 inches and whatever, right, is -1 to hit with the stealth aspect. That way, the Maleceptor still can take on the closer aspect, even though it has a blast weapon, but, I digress. Why not that, right? If we're going to make it so that this one has to be the melee, and this one has to be ranged, but this one is resistant to melee, why not make this one resistant to ranged? Like, that gets rid of the biggest problem that the Toxicrene has, and plays into this nice little trade-off of the monsters that come in the same kit, or the same box, right? I even thought about taking it a step further, where, what if you just couldn't be shot at all, right? Like, what if you gave the Toxicrene lone op? It wouldn't be busted, because again, I'm talking about 612 over here. Anti-infantry, but if I finally get up the board with this damn thing, it's not going to rue the world. It's not going to ruin everything. It's just going to pick up a squad of, like, uh, Eldar. Like, it's not doing the utmost, right? So there's no reason to be too scared. And then I got to thinking, I was like, well, shit, they wouldn't make a monster lone up. And then I was like, holy shit, you dumbass. You have talked about several times about making monsters lone up in Vanguard Onslaught, in which the Harpy, the Hive Crone, the Trigon, and Moloch are all monsters that, because they're Vanguard invaders, you can make lone up of 18 inches. Then I was like, well, that's a special case. That requires some hoops to jump through to make it. And then I remembered, as you can probably see where I'm going with some of these tabs, there's two big motherfuckers that, have different cost, of course, but also have better offensive things that, well, they have load up. The first one, when I made this video the last time, that came into my mind was the Ghost Kill. It has Infiltrator, loan up, and Stealth, while being able to blank 2 damages for 160 points. Mind you, it's T8, but it has a 2-up save and 12 wounds, so, we get 2 more wounds and a bit higher toughness, but a worse save and no blanks. So, I think if you can make a vehicle with fly, infiltrate, loan up, and stealth, I say fuck it. My damn thing that gets caught on everything trying to move this across the table can do it if we're going to talk about how the spores add cover and make it hard to shoot and stealth and yada yada yada, right? I think that's thematic and solves the problem a little bit. Then I took it one step further. I was like, okay, well, you could just argue that that's technology, yada yada yada, da 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 da. Okay, we have the tech reason. There's also a fucking chaos reason. So why not make it an evolutionary reason, right? Like, the lictors, they go invisible, so that doesn't necessarily stop them from being shot, but, like, it makes it harder, so there's that. Bellicor, while a friendly Legion's Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this model, that unit cannot be targeted by a ranged attack outside of 18 inches. So, Bellicor can do it. T10, 4-up save, 4-up invuln, 18 wounds. Again, better offensive profile, deep strike, and has stealth his damn self. Admittedly, he costs a lot more, but he also has two other abilities on top of that, while once again being able to fly. So he doesn't even have to worry about getting caught on shit before, they fix that. So Be'lakor has a way to not be shot. Ghoststeel has a way to not be shot. And Be'lakor takes it a step further where if you are even next to the motherfucker, you can't be shot from outside of 18 inches. Now, Lone Op is 12, but I'm willing to trade off if you overcharge the Venom Thrope ability for the Toxicrene, in which it's like, okay, well, anything within 6 inches can't be shot outside of 18. Then I don't give a damn. I could tolerate the 150, or you could even bump that shit to 170. Okay, probably not, because the range is still. Maybe. We could talk about points later. But I can tolerate the 150 for that point. Now, you probably do want to put that a little bit up if you go that far. Like, probably like 170, hell, maybe even 180 or 190. Because, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but, I already know. And I'm not going to say that out loud, because if you didn't think about it, yeah, no. Right? But, you know, if you do supercharge these, or supercharge the Venom Thrope ability to be something along the lines of Wreath and Shadows, right? That would be nice. But I'll settle for a Tyranid Ghost Kill that can only pick up infantry. Just give me a reason to put this on the table. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers all I wanted to. I also had an idea of letting it have the kind of like a scuttling crawler ability like the Defiler has. And you go, but why? If you say it like in Crusher Stampede, I can just pay a CP to make it go through walls. Well, in the Vastor detachment, Shoalforge Warpack, the Defiler could pay a CP to worry about ruins taller than 4 inches too. So like, yeah, some parts would be redundant, but sometimes would be nice. Also, another thing that I did think about to make the Toxicrene better is that this grasping tendril shit, like the Soulforge Warpack, when it's a Desperate Escape or the Big Hunt, also has it, if I remember correctly. Um, Instead of making it so that if somebody tries to fall back out of combat with this damn thing, how about we fucking kill them? Instead of making them remain stationary, how about it's a desperate escape test, and if they fail, they're fucked, right? Like, how about we just fucking kill them? With the Toxicrene, who is toxic, alright? Like, that's it eats shit, it's toxic, it terraforms with these spores. Like, there's things here, and I want this thing to be better. So, if you like this idea, I don't know, hopefully spread this around. Maybe GW sees it. And if you think it's fucking stupid, let me know in the comments. But yeah, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.